Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to Poets and Quants' online MBA alumni and student panel, MBA Journeys with Georgetown McDonough, Carnegie Mellon Tepper, Johns Hopkins Carey, and American Kogod. I'm your host, Christy Blyzeffer of Poets and Quants. Please feel free to use the Q&A function to submit any questions you have for our panelists, and I'll do my best to get to those at the end of the session. And thank you all for joining us today and giving us your time. Let's begin by getting to know you a little bit. If you would each take a minute to introduce yourself, give us a little bit of background on your professional experience, industry, companies, of course, the school you're either attending or graduated from, and a fun fact about yourself. And Amanda, we'll start with you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for having us today. So my name is Amanda Weiner. I'm the Assistant Dean of the MBA admissions team at Georgetown University, and I also took the leap myself about 2 years ago to jump into the Flex MBA online program. So I'm both staff and student. So coming from higher education, I've been in the industry for over 10 years now. Let's see, fun fact about myself. I did not prepare that. Let's say, well, I'll say I got to do my global business experience with Georgetown over the summer. So I was in Lisbon, Portugal this summer, and it was a blast.
Oh, that is certainly fun. Absolutely. Pradeepa.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm a Tepper alum. I graduated this May, and I'm currently at Thermo Fisher Scientific as in their leadership development program. So prior to that, I was in academia. I was an assistant professor in microbiology. That could itself be a fun fact, probably, but the fun fact was very long time back. I was a state level sprinter in high school.
Oh, great. Wow. Will, how about you?
Thank you, everyone. My name is Will Ivory. I am a senior consultant at Ernst & Young. Prior to that, I was at Deloitte for quite a few years. My background actually prior to working in business and things of that nature is military, actually. And I'm a recent graduate of the Johns Hopkins Carey University Business School. Great fun fact for me is, and I think you mentioned something about living overseas. I've actually lived for extended periods of time in maybe 18 places since I was 18. So world traveler to say
Yeah,
the least.
I hope you get to settle down soon. Jacob, how about you?
Hi, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Thanks for being here. I am from American University's Kogod School of Business. Much like Amanda, I actually also took the leap to do my studies part-time as well. So I'm full-time in our graduate admissions office for the School of Business and also pursuing my MBA part-time. My career is fully in higher ed within student experience, student affairs, event management, a little bit of athletics, but now we're in the graduate business realm. Fun fact about me is I'm currently training for my first marathon in February.
Whoa, how many miles are you up to?
Well, I already had a half earlier in the fall. So we're back down, but we're only at 10 right now for the long run. So we have time.
I did one many, many years ago, was woefully undertrained and had a miserable time. I still remember it today. So it's a fun fact about me. Well, thank you all for joining. We really appreciate it. And thanks for all the viewers who are tuning in. Pradeepa, we'll just kind of start with you on, tell us a little bit about what motivated you to choose an online MBA, and did you look at other MBA programs like traditional, evening and weekend, part-time? Go ahead.
Yeah, so for me, the main motivation for an online program was the flexibility it offered, particularly in terms of location, right? It allowed me to pursue a program in a top tier university without the need to relocate during the program. And personally to me, it was important being a parent. I didn't want to relocate. I was looking to pivot to a different industry. So which meant I didn't want to relocate twice, once for the program and then after for the career.
Absolutely, absolutely. Will, what about you? Why an online?
Yes, a very similar sort of justification for doing the online. The flexibility, working consulting, is a very time-consuming business where you're at your client's whim, right? So having that flexibility to do my studies in a way that made sense for me and my family was awesome. And again, there's several great schools that offer online nowadays. Back maybe 20 years or so, it wasn't so much. So I think now several of the top schools have an online program that is just as great as the in-person experience.
Yeah, absolutely. Jacob, did you ever consider any other types of MBAs?
Yeah, so my answer for this is a little tricky, just because I'm employed by AU, so I get a really great benefit to study here. But with that being said, I've worked for other institutions, and it was important for me to finally use that opportunity at a school that I both kind of saw a future for myself in, but also for a program I believed in. So to be in a program that I believe in and also be on the admission side of it, I think it's been fantastic. So again, tying it up, I've had the chances to begin programs elsewhere, but I really enjoy myself here and I love being part of this program.
Yeah, absolutely. Amanda, how about you?
Yeah, so I work remotely for Georgetown, so I'm actually based in Ohio. So for me, when I was looking at programs, I actually was looking at local programs and thinking that I wanted an in-person experience. And right as I was doing that, Georgetown announced our online MBA program, and I thought, oh, well, I want to do that, obviously, because Georgetown's, the caliber of the program, knowing that we would still get that like cohort experience that's super important to our program, that I would still have that in the online program was super important to me. Because I really wanted that, the student connection that you get with your peers. And so that's why I was looking at in-person, honestly, part-time programs. And I've still been able to maintain that with the online program. I'm super close with my peers. I was chatting with them earlier today, even. So for me, I've still been able to maintain that despite being on Zoom and being online and being in a kind of non-traditional format. I still have those close connections and really thankful for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Will, did you explore other programs in the online MBA space and tell us why Johns Hopkins kind of landed at the top of your list?
So I did explore a few other programs. I will say Johns Hopkins stood out to me specifically for their freshness to the MBA, landscape. Being one of the newer programs at the school, they were really heavy emphasis on AI advancements. What's the future looking like, and that really stood out to me, especially as someone that works for clients that wants to know, what's the cutting edge, what's coming out next. So Johns Hopkins sort of mission stood out to me, greatly. And then, when I did get a chance to meet some of the professors and some of the students as well, that experience it really sold itself. And I was so happy to be a student at Johns Hopkins.
Absolutely. Jacob, even, maybe you didn't look at other programs, but can you tell us maybe why you think American Kogod or what it brings to the table?
Yeah, I think what I like the most, super strong in terms of our study of management. A lot of research going on in management and human capital organizations and such. Overall, organizational change, I think, is also important as a part of our curriculum. I've also loved how just cutting edge I feel that we are, and not even just I feel, I mean, we've been ranked recently for our moves in AI and such, so that's been super exciting. And I would say also, although my program is not formally in sustainability, it's really important to me and it's incredibly important to American. What we've achieved in that realm has just been so impressive and it's within all of my courses. So being able to have like a very green education is super cool to me.
Absolutely. Amanda, what it stands out in your opinion for Georgetown's online MBA?
Yeah, a couple things. So one thing that I really enjoy about our coursework is that we have, for the majority of our classes, we have like an asynchronous component that you do in your own time, and then you're in class for a shorter amount of time, like from 8 p.m. to 9:20. So I also had kids. When I joined the program, I have 2 little kids. So for me, having that flexibility to do the asynchronous coursework, during my own time, during nap time when my kids were napping, and then being in class for a shorter amount of time was really great for me. So again, that that was one of those where once I heard the online program and what was coming out about it and how classes would look, I thought, oh my gosh, that's going to be actually really perfect for my life where I was with two little kids. So that's one thing that stood out for me. The other thing too would be that I get the same opportunities like the global business experience. So being able to do that, I've been talking about it for years, and being able to say, I get to do it now, was a really cool moment for me. And being able to take advantage of those really kind of signature programs that we have within McDonough, even as an online student, has been really fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And Pradeepa, did you look at other programs, and what made Temper kind of rise to the top for you?
Yeah, I was looking at both like the UNC and Kelly as well, like in addition to Tepper. But for Tepper, like apart from the CMU reputation, and it had a very STEM-oriented focus, which I wanted to get. And another thing that stood out for me was like it was the same faculty and the same curriculum that was offered for both the part-time and the full-time program, which was very important to me.
Yeah, that's so important. It's not the B team anymore. It's like,
Yeah.
it's one's teaching all the full time, of course. So going to you, Jacob, were there some surprising benefits to the online format that you maybe hadn't expected or anticipated?
Yeah, similar to Pradeepa mentioning that our programs are similar in terms of our faculty being on both sides, residential and online. So that is not so unexpected, but I'm happy to have that experience. But I would just say that the unexpected kind of benefit or maybe surprising part of my experience is how eager everyone else is to engage online. People think that they are siloed or insular by attending an online program, but people are super quick to send you a private comment saying that was a great contribution, or like, hey, do you want to help me study with this? Because we all know we're in the online space. It is so there is an extreme lack of animosity in reaching and engaging in the online experience.
Yeah, I think that's really comforting for some people to hear that the siloed kind of reputation is hard to get over for the online MBA. Amanda, what surprising things did you discover?
Yeah, one thing that I hadn't really thought about, I guess, before starting the classes was the benefit of, all the Zoom sessions are recorded. And then also you have the asynchronous content, so you can watch those videos as many times as you want. So for me, for example, I was a political science major, didn't take accounting or finance. So those classes were ones I, really had to commit to and study. So I could rewatch the lectures, I could rewatch the videos. Let's be honest, 8 p.m. when you have a 1-year-old is very late. Sometimes you're really tired. So being able to rewatch the lecture after a cup of coffee earlier in the day was great. So I hadn't really thought about that, but being able to have those resources is huge when you're studying for midterms and finals.
Absolutely. Pradeepa, what about you? The surprising advantages of it.
Yeah, something similar to what like Jacob had mentioned. Your classmates are all like in the online program. Most of them have a full-time job. So which means like, the breadth of experience they bring to the table is huge from their day-to-day work-life situation. Like it makes every class discussion like more relevant and interesting.
Oh, I bet. Yeah. Will, how about the surprising benefits of an online education?
So again, in the same sort of direction that everyone else said, I think the engagement with the class, in students, being that they're generally working professionals, the conversations were very well thought out, interesting perspectives coming from different worlds, and I really enjoyed that. And I think that was a direct benefit of the online program.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys all kind of touched on this next question a little bit. So let's go a little deeper into that network that is so important for MBA. So that's why a lot of people, choose to pursue an MBA. So did you feel, it sounds like most of you did, but tell me about the community that you were able to, kind of forge with your cohort and your classmates. And, if that kind of network has been helpful to you so far, after you've left the program or so far in the program. And let's start with Amanda.
Yeah, so with the Flex MBA online program at Georgetown, we get to do 2 in-person residencies on campus. So we have one right in the fall semester of our program. So right at the beginning, we all get to meet each other. We do some of our coursework together in person. We have one the summer of our second year, and then obviously our global business experience. So I've been able to see my classmates 3 times in person, which has kind of helped spark those relationships, I guess. And then you also get like breakout rooms and classes and obviously a ton of group work. So I know my cohort very well. It's about 40 of us, super close with them. I've been able to maintain the relationships. We chat all the time on like our WhatsApp group.
Great.
If I'm visiting a city where one of them live, obviously I make connections. I see them, like I get coffee with them every time I'm like in DC, for example. And you see like a lot of our classmates have done trips to see each other and that kind of thing. So we're a close-knit group. It's been really great.
Oh, that's great to hear.
Mhm.
Pradeepa, what's that network like with your class at Tepper?
Yeah, we got to do access weekends as well. Like, so we all like met like every, I'd say, couple of months, like for 3 days in person, which meant like that meeting in person like creates that opportunity to like develop a personal bond. So still very much in touch with many of us classmates. Like we do regular like virtual Zoom sessions and update each other. So it's you would be surprised that in an online like program, how much of actually a cohort feeling that you develop over a period of time.
Yeah, great. Will, what about you?
Yes, both personally and professionally, I was able to connect with my classmates. We had several in-person sessions as well throughout the duration of the program. I'll even say that, from this program, the godfather of my son is another fellow person that started this program with me. So, and we did not know each other beforehand, but we connected so well, just because we had so many classes together and we had so many things in common. So, I mean, we really got close as a cohort, as a group, and again, I think that initially going into the online program, I thought it was going to be very siloed, sort of less connection, but I would argue that actually because you are so far apart, you're forced to actually engage, and those relationships get even deeper.
Oh, that's really great. Have you had the chance to use it professionally as well?
Yes. So I've had a chance to grow my network, especially in consulting. So
Yeah.
it's a business of sales at the end of the day. So I've been able to speak with different clients and things like that, specifically through the program, and grow a relationship right now that I'm budding on with a certain company that I won't mention right now, but it could be a potential client in the future. So it's definitely helped me out professionally.
Absolutely. Jacob, talk a little bit more about that network at American Kogod.
Yeah, so similar to what Will said, this experience of being online, it forces you to have to reach out. I need help in this course, and I need to speak to someone who is also maybe in this or who I know was previously in this course. A lot of us have resources and helpful insight for courses that we've taken that we can give to our peers, right? Any suggestions for particular readings, particular resources, whatever it may be. So utilizing that is super exciting. I'm excited for part of Kogod's Online MBA, you have 2 required immersions. So typically during summer 1 and then summer 2 before graduation, or excuse me, right after you've walked in graduation. And I'm excited to experience what that has looked like with my network after I get to soon meet them for summer 1 and hopefully see more of them in summer 2 for our either domestic or international immersions, depending on where I decide I'd like to go.
Yeah, it's pretty great that you get a chance to connect with them before going on that in-person immersion. Yeah. Pradeepa, well, let's get a little bit deeper into that kind of like the week-to-week look of the online MBA at Tepper. What was the course load like? How did you engage with the content, the content and the synchronous sessions? Just tell us what it looks like.
Yeah, so we had like recorded lectures and we met for every course like synchronously once every week in the evening.
Mhm.
And we also had a lot of like group work group work was probably one of the main focus like throughout like the courses. I can't recall a single course where group work didn't make up a significant part of the grade. So it again like provides a opportunity to like kind of get together with your classmates and like every week, like even offline other than the synchronous sessions, to work together on each of those courses. And
Yeah.
the coursework itself like was really well balanced. It was a lot of analytical and technical material, but also with an equal opportunity to develop your soft skills.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, learning to work in teams remotely, like so many more of us are doing these days, is like a skill that is really valuable these days because we're all doing remote group work for sure. How about Will? What's it look like at a Johns Hopkins?
So very similar. We would have 1 to 2 synchronous sessions and then lectures throughout the week, and a handful of assignments as well. And again, group work was a pivotal for almost every single class I took. And I think that it was designed in a way where you were with random people at sometimes, and you had to figure out what the strengths and weaknesses are of everyone in the group. It was, I will say this, it was not easy, but I think, if you definitely, worked on time management and things of that nature, and the professors were great as far as understanding that, we're all working professionals and so forth and so on. But it was definitely rigorous, but rigorous with purpose. And
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
Was there kind of like an average number of hours you were working a week, or was it really kind of up and down?
I mean, it really did depend on the class, but I would say on average, anywhere from I would say 10 hours a week, and that's including the in-class work. So again, so at some points it was definitely rigorous, but I think definitely worth it.
Gotcha. Jacob, what's that schedule kind of look like at American?
Yeah, so I am in our part-time employee kind of structure. So I am like a standard part-time student. One thing that's interesting to me is I have the flexibility to have taken a few courses in person,
Oh,
but my primary designation is online, right?
yeah.
And I think there's this notion of I'm going to get all this group work in my online program because they want us to like engage. There's the same amount of group work happening in person. So I think there's a false sense of like group work depending on, I don't want to work with others. Well, you are in both. I think the nature of the MBA is working with others, right?
Absolutely.
On top of that, I think that there's opportunity for, individual submission. Each professors do that. But I think that would be the kind of most of my experience in terms of group work and that balance.
Yeah, absolutely. And Amanda, same question. And then also, I assume when you're talking about teamwork, your teammates are kind of like from different industries, different, disciplines, that kind of thing. Talk about that a little bit as well.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so for logistics, we typically have class 2 nights a week. If you're overloading and taking more classes to accelerate the program, then you might have like 3 classes a week. Most classes are the asynchronous component, like I talked about, and then you have class in person, well, on Zoom in person, from 8 to 9:20. But then other classes are the full 6:30 to 9:20. So it just kind of depends on what classes you're taking at the time. I found it fairly flexible, I'd say. I have some classmates who, like, she was getting married, so she didn't take any classes for one mod just to kind of focus on that. And I know people who, again, they like accelerated the program and took a bunch of classes at once. So I think it's fairly flexible in that way. Yeah, in terms of you said the group work and the different industries and kind of what that's like. Yeah, I mean, it's really fun, honestly, learning about so many different industries, like hearing about people's day to day, seeing how they approach, I don't want to say problems, but like projects. Like I was in a consulting class and I was working with some people who had already worked in consulting, and seeing the way that they approached the project is really interesting. And there are things that I can take away immediately back to my day to day and bring to my job now that I've learned from them. So it's just really, I think, cool and exciting. You're with a really high caliber group of people, and being able to take away those little nuggets of information to bring to your day to day is incredibly valuable.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Will, you told that great story about that you're being the godfather of your sons. So, like, let's get into it a little bit. How do you balance a family, a work, and full and school all in one kind of period? You know, at least the full-time MBAs have the luxury of kind of focusing when they're in class. How do you balance all those?
Well, let me tell you, it is not easy. But I think it's again, if you're intentional about your time and you have a supportive support system. My wife is the best. And she certainly, I feel like she went through this program with me as well.
Oh, well,
Um,
great.
one 100%. I think if you have that support system and then you're just budgeting or planning out your days and your weeks, I would try to front load my weeks with most of the coursework that I can get through. That way, my weekends are a little bit less burdensome. But I think overall it just comes down to intentionality and just being able to understand that it won't be easy, but if as long as you set your weeks up and your months up, you'll be fine.
Great, great. Jacob, what about you? What do you have any advice for people that are thinking about it?
Yeah, so this actually still plays into the previous question, I think, where I totally forgot to mention the course like schedule and structure of American. I jumped right through to group work and individual work. But our online MBA has a completely evening structure. So in the 5:30 to 8:20 or 8:30 to 10:50 window, for every course you're enrolled in, you'll meet once a week for those courses and you'll have modules. Not that much different from my peers on this call. In terms of scheduling, it's hard. And I think that's kind of the beauty of being online as well, is that if I'm maybe in between things, I don't have to be in the classroom to do my course. I can be at that middle point between my daytime commitment, my class, and my evening commitment, like whatever it is. Flexibility there, super crucial. My calendar, like I'm sure my peers are, it's scary. It's really scary, right? Each week of my courses has the reading I was supposed to do, the assignments due for the entire semester before we start. But that's the level of like what you need to really successfully juggle all of these things. And just being meticulous and allowing yourself to like just quote unquote like do the grind, right? Like do those 3 hours and just carve it out. I think with that mentality, it's a lot easier to get everything done.
Yeah. How long did it take you to get all that stuff in the calendar and when, for
It
a
was,
full semester's worth?
yeah, it was a little tedious, but it's worth it.
Absolutely. Amanda, what kind of advice do you have in this regard?
Yeah, my advice, I would just remember that like midterms, finals, it's one bad week, right? Like you're all in that week. It's going to be a little crazy. You're going to get pizza for dinner or something, but like it's one bad week and then it's over, right? It eases up. So just kind of roll. You're going to have to roll with those ebbs and flows. Prep everybody in your family, say like, I'm going to be stressed this week. I'm going to be a little crazy. You're going to have to deal with that, right?
Yeah.
But just communicating what you need with your partner, your family, and remember, it'll be over soon. That's my
Great
advice.
perspective. Pradeepa, any advice from you?
Yeah, it's like Will mentioned, it's not going to be easy, right? Like it pushes you to be super organized and to manage your time wisely. I would say, like, for me at least, like to have that balance, like you have like dedicated, like personal or family time. And for me, that was Friday night. Like it was definitely like, it was a no-go in terms of like no work meetings or like school work during that time. That's like a dedicated time, like for my family. And
Yeah.
having that kind of helped me, like it was like I was like kind of mini recharged before the weekend to then focus again a little bit on the work.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
that's a great way to divide it. Yeah.
And celebrate small wins, right? Like so at Tepper, like it's not a semester based, it's mini like 6 weeks. So take it one mini at a time and celebrate those small wins. So,
Oh, absolutely. That mini schedule, that sounds pretty enticing. Like if so you can like focus, breathe, focus. Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Well, we're going to get a little bit into, something that like most prospective students are looking to an MBA for, and that's kind of maybe the career outcomes. So for the current students, talk a little bit about what you hope the online MBA does for you, what you're looking for it to do, and for the alumni, if you've had any kind of career movement that you can attribute to the program, tell us about that. And Jacob, we're going to start with you.
Yeah, so there's a few things I think that have been of impact to me. My super nerdy like higher ed career goal is to be a university chief of staff.
Oh,
And
great.
that's just what I want to do later on. And when it comes to, like I mentioned, that previous just high level focus of management of people and others, that's what I'm going to do later in that future. So kind of learning about management theory and overall practices and what's trending in the workplaces here is just really impactful for the way I think about higher ed and management in the higher ed setting.
Right. Absolutely. Amanda, what about you?
Yeah, so I was promoted to this role actually, was it last November? It would not have been here if not for the MBA. So definitely I've already seen the movement and in the progression in my career because of it. So really thankful for that. And I've definitely seen colleagues, classmates who have gone to new industries and already had new opportunities, even though they haven't graduated yet. So the momentum, I think, truly starts even before you graduate.
Yeah, absolutely. Pradeepa, how about you? And one other thing to maybe talk about is like, in the past, maybe the online MBA wasn't seen as prestigious as the full-time MBA, which I think that that's definitely changing, especially with all, like you said, these big name schools kind of creating their own. But can you talk a little bit about your career progression and whether you thought the online, was in a way looked down upon by prospective employers at all?
Yeah, I can definitely talk to that because before I believe like online MBA was mostly viewed as like for people who were like working and they probably wanted a promotion or like needed that MBA degree to get to that next level. But for me, like I came in to pivot from academia. Like I did an MBA to like get into industry, and I didn't have any problem. Like for the online MBA, the reputation has definitely like gone up. I didn't think like in my experience, the employees like viewed online MBA any different from a full-time MBA. So at least at Tepper, like we had like all access to the Master Career Center, similar to the full-time like students. I was able to get an internship at Citibank like after my second year like of the online MBA and got recruited to the leadership development program like which basically is only open to MBA students. So for me like the MBA program did like everything that I had like hoped for.
Oh, that's fantastic. Will, what about at Johns Hopkins? Does it have that kind of career support that it does for the full-time MBAs as?
Yeah, so one of the things at Johns Hopkins is you get access to all the support that both the full-time and all the programs at Johns Hopkins get. So as a part-time or online MBA student, I had access to the Career Center in all the various resources as well as my professors. I was actually able to transition from Deloitte to EY, Ernst & Young, through Johns Hopkins. And actually, they were very pivotal in helping to sort of navigate offers, different things of that nature. So that was definitely a direct result of this program. And I apologize for the technical difficulties earlier. My screen went off.
Oh, no, we didn't miss you. No, we certainly did.
Okay.
Jacob and Amanda, and I should have asked you guys about the career services as well at your schools. Jacob, what are they like at American for online students?
Yeah, this is something I try and tell people who are interested in the program as well too. But hand in hand, I mean, super collaborative. The coaching is ongoing. There are requirements you have to do before you even start orientation. You do not go unsupported here and trying to actualize your goals.
Yeah.
Also, in our employer kind of partnerships and insights team, super aggressive. Our industry engagement is always trying to kind of seek those relationships and see where we can, find students those connections or bring whatever speakers in to then connect with students. So that's one thing as well. I think that's worth mentioning. There's a lot of events that I think I can also speak for my peers here here that, at least for most programs, you're able to also attend as online students. They can be like live streamed or whatnot, different levels of inclusion based on your school's kind of setup with the virtual space, but that is not a lack of opportunity for you in that space either. There's plenty of online engagement in the overall events and speakers and such, particularly how I find it at American.
Oh, great. Amanda, what about the career support and services at Georgetown for online students?
Yeah, they're well equipped to help our virtual students as well. So coaching obviously open to our online students. They do plenty of virtual appointments. Same level of coaching obviously and all of that. Again, employer events are open to all of our online students. So if they're virtual events, you're welcome to join them. If they're in person, obviously a little trickier, but certainly as an online student, if you're based in DC, you're welcome to come. So I've seen really great support for online students. Again, I personally haven't used them. I'm where I want to be, but from my peers, they've told me very great things.
Yeah, very good. Well, Amanda, sticking with you, kind of a fun one. Do you have like a hallmark kind of experience that you can tell us about? The thing that you're kind of going to remember or had the most impact for you?
Yeah, I mean, I have to say the global business experience, it was so much fun. Still coming off of that from this summer. So I got to go to Lisbon in Portugal and consult with an international client. It was a Delta Cafe, so it was one of the biggest coffee companies in Portugal. So we did a US market entry plan for them. Super fun. I mean, the group of students I was with was a blast. Super cool company. Being there in Portugal, we got to learn about like the different industries there, like the tile industry, and actually visit a factory where we could see the people like hand painting the tiles. It was so cool. And yeah, just such an amazing experience. So I had a blast. I loved it. I'll talk to you about global anytime.
That's great. We'll have a webinar just for those.
Yeah, I had a great time.
Pradeepa, let's go to you. What's your hallmark experience?
I cannot actually pinpoint to one. I would say every single Access weekend, because there, you're meeting together with your cohorts, sitting in those hotel lobby until 2 a.m. when you have to get up at 8 a.m. for a class that weekend. So those are the moments that help you form that bond, which makes the whole MBA experience, I would say, more meaningful than just academic focused.
Yeah, I feel tired just listening to that. Will, how about you?
So during my time at Johns Hopkins, I was able to take part in several case competitions. But actually, one of the most memorable was when I was actually picked to be a coach in Johns Hopkins Summer Business Academy, which actually helps undergraduate students from all across the U.S. And my team actually placed second. They should have placed first, but they placed second. It came down to the wire, but that experience was amazing. I mean, and I got to meet students from all across the U.S., including Stanford, all kinds of schools that took part in that case competition, which was great.
Oh, great experience. Jacob, what about you?
My biggest hallmark so far is a little bit abstract, but I think coming from a background of higher ed, I didn't know what to expect in terms of anything like transformative, knowing that it's made me a bigger advocate for kind of non-traditional career people to go into getting an MBA, right? And I say that because I just think that my thinking has changed. My thinking of systems, structures, and operations has changed. The way I organized my own life to complete all of this has changed. So really cool experiences like that would be my largest takeaway so far.
Absolutely great answer. Well, now we're going to put yourselves in the shoes of the people watching, the place you guys may have been a few years ago, people considering an online MBA, looking for the right school, seeking out videos like this to get as much information as they can. So what is your, kind of biggest advice to those people, maybe something that you wish you had known before starting? So let's go to Amanda.
Yeah, my biggest piece of advice, I'm coming up on the end of my program, so I'll graduate in May. And looking back, it's very bittersweet. I'm going to be sad to leave, but I'm ready to have, my evenings with my kids back.
Yeah.
So looking back, I'm really proud of myself for taking the leap. I think there's a lot of this, like, can I do it? Can I juggle all of these things, and still be like the mom I want to be and the employee I want to be and pass my classes? I've never taken accounting before. Can I do this? So I'm really proud of myself for taking the leap and just going for it because it's been absolutely worth it. I've already seen the career progression. Like I said, like Jacob said, I've learned so much. It's completely changed the way I approach problems, the way I think. So I'm just really incredibly proud that I took the leap, and I would say you should too.
Oh, great. Pradeepa, how about you?
I would say like the biggest piece of advice like would be to start like thinking much early about what your end goals are, right? Like what you want out of the program, like when you graduate, be it like different industry roles or in general, like what do you want out of the program? Because then you can tailor the MBA experience to what you need. Because most of the programs, like you have tons of opportunities, like Will mentioned, case competitions. You'll have like tons of case competitions to attend to, internship opportunities, professional clubs. But having the clarity of thought, like beforehand, of what you want out of it, like will help you get the most out of the program.
Yeah, I think that's great advice that people, do tend to overlook. Will, how about you?
Think the value of networking has really changed my life, and I really got that when I came to Johns Hopkins. As someone that went to undergrad for philosophy, not really a business mindset, right? But I was able to network and work with classmates that had experience in accounting, experience in finance, and things of that nature. And able to do well because I reached out to my colleagues, right? And that includes professors as well, who are industry experts in for the most cases. So I think take advantage of that, and understand that even if you're not business background or you don't have a business background, that you can still do this.
Yeah, absolutely. All industries welcome. And Jacob, any advice or last words from you?
Yeah, just reiterating what Will just expressed, honestly. Even on this call, we have a former adjunct professor or assistant professor, excuse me. We have two in higher ed. We have an individual in consulting and stuff, right? So these we're all people who have gotten or are getting their MBA. So something I like to share is that really it's for anyone. What I like to share is that at the end of the day, no matter what you're doing, eventually everyone in theory will have people to manage and budgets to meet. And that's it, right? So how you use it is up to you, but I really think there shouldn't be any hesitancy behind it being not for me.
Absolutely. And of course, like, beyond the finance and the accounting, there's an incredible amount of personal development and leadership that is central to an MBA, which anybody can use at any time. So. Well, thanks again for all of your time and your perspectives. It's so helpful to students that are on the beginning part of the journey where you guys all once were. So, and thanks, of course, to everybody who tuned in. We have a lot of more panel sessions throughout the week that you can find on our website or YouTube channels. So check those out. You'll also find a lot of other videos on our YouTube page that also kind of talk about the admissions process at the top schools. And as always, go to poetsandquants.com for student articles, all the stats that you could want to help you make your decision. And until next time, thanks for listening.